In the Unitarian Universalist faith, we light a chalice as our symbol of our sacred time together, and as a reminder that no matter how ominous and oppressive the world may seem, the light of possibility remains. The small flickering flame is a reminder to us that no matter what, life is creative and resilient, and love never dies. On this day, as we gather to honor one who has made such a profound impact on so many, it is especially good to remember that life is creative and resilient, and that love never dies. It is especially good to remember that even though Margaret's life has ended, her creativity, strength, and resilience have gone on to reside within others. And the love that she had for her family, friends, church family, colleagues, students, and so many more, that love persists and even grows. As we begin our celebration of Margaret's life, I invite you to place a hand over your heart and feel that love. You might want to close your eyes and bring Margaret's image into your mind, into your heart. And just take a moment to feel the love that is still there. And then I invite you to send that love out into the room, to the others who have gathered here today and beyond, to those who are joining us online or who can't be with us, to the whole network of love that is connected through Margaret. And then when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and go ahead and just look around. It's okay. Just look around and see who's here. There's an old spiritual that comes to mind as I look out over this crowd today. And the lyrics are, "When I come to the end of this road, and I lay down my heavy load, let the life I've lived speak for me. Let the friends I've made speak for me. Let the work I've done speak for me. Let the love I've shared speak for me." Today we hear Margaret's life speak through the remembrances of her family and friends, through the beauty of her work, and through the love that she shared that goes on speaking through all of us. I invite Margaret's son, Miles, to offer a remembrance.
I found an old newspaper clipping of a poem that I wrote when I was 10 years old. Nice, pretty, loving, helping, cheerful, always understanding my problems, mother. The fact that my mother kept this for almost 50 years tells you everything you need to know about how she cherished and encouraged all of us kids in everything we did. Because of that love and encouragement, I think I can do a little better now. This is inspired by the writings of Tolkien, which he used to read to me before school every day. Morning Star. Earendil, the morning star, rides the sky at edge of night and calls us all to strive and hope with the high beauty of his light. Mother was my morning star, calling me to art and play, to embrace creation in all its forms, and offering gifts of pure delight. I learned to walk through quiet galleries, recesses of thought and hope, to listen to my feelings flutter as each new image came in sight. I learned to sit in concerts listening, the notes rung out from wood and brass, many-throated voices rising as dreams and visions took their flight. Try this, she called, you may enjoy it. Let's see what you can make today. She welcomed all our faltering efforts, her glad face beaming with delight. Though now her ship of crystal hewn will ne'er upon this earth alight, I always know I'll see her there as I look up at edge of night, calling me to strive and hope, love shining through her silver light.
There's a Chickasaw creation story that goes something like this. The moon, sun, wind, rainbow, thunder, fire, and water all came to visit the Creator. Sun asked the Creator if he would make the people of the world his children. And the Creator said, no, but they can be your friends and grandchildren. You can give them light to help guide them through the world. And the moon asked if the people of the world could be his children. And the Creator said, no, but they can be your friends and grandchildren, and you can give them light in the darkness. And it went the same with all the rest: wind, thunder, fire, water, and rainbow. Each wondered if the people of the earth could be their children, and each one in turn was told that they could care for the people as a friend or a grandparent, each offering a unique gift to humankind. Only a few people have been lucky enough to have Margaret as a parent: Sandra, Mark, and Miles. And only a few were blessed to know her as a sister, daughter, wife, mother-in-law, aunt, grandparent, cousin. But she was a grandmother figure, a friend, and a mentor to countless others. And she offered to each person a different gift. Like the sun or the moon, she offered light and guidance to many. She encouraged her children and her grandchildren to explore and to grow into their own full potential. She did not insist that they be just like her or to like the things that she liked, but she supported them in trying many different things. Different musical instruments, forms of art, different way of expressing their own identities, finding their own path in life. Like the sun or the moon as they might appear in a child's drawing, yellow and shining on all the plants and people, and smiling. Margaret saw life. She noticed people and plants and beings and things. She noticed whenever someone went out of their way to be kind or tried something new. She noticed when others put effort into something. She cared. She was invested in the lives of others. Her catchphrase was, "Tell me everything." Like wind, Margaret loved to travel and bring a refreshing honesty wherever she went. If her beloved husband, Leonard, was a little like a rock, solid, scientific, rational, Margaret was the wind that flowed around that rock. Social, connecting, kind. Each one delighted in the differences of the other. Like the wind, too, Margaret spread music far and wide. Like thunder, she spoke truth, and at least on one occasion when she was trying to show off her tap dancing skills, she managed to scare the cats. Like fire, her home was a hearth. Her guest could always expect just the right dishes, a carefully selected centerpiece, delicious wine. No aspect of entertaining was overlooked, and all of it was infused with a deep sense of hospitality, generosity, and joy. Also like fire, Margaret could move people with her warmth. Sandra shared with me how Margaret was able to get random telephone and cable help desk guys to go out of their way to set up an email account for her and recommend movies. Like water, Margaret was both soft and strong. Her soft strength was evident when her son Mark fell ill and died as a young adult. And she and Leonard were there for him. Her soft strength was revealed over and over again in the course of her career as she rose into leadership positions at a time when women were not really welcomed into academia. Like the rainbow shining after the rain, she raised her children to feel secure and calm and to appreciate beauty. And like a rainbow, she brought color into the world. And she shaped that color into art. As in the old story, Margaret couldn't be a parent to everyone. But through her many gifts, she functioned as a grandparent, as a mentor, as a friend to countless people. And we are the beneficiaries of that gift. We are the beneficiaries of her love. We have a song for you, The Long Wild Bird, The Lone Wild Bird. We have two remembrances from Margaret's grandchildren. Dirk?
Oh, gosh. Thank you all for coming. Sorry, just... Margaret was a very vibrant and loving person, and she did so much and touched so many lives, and it means a lot to see a lot of you here today to remember her. So she's my grandmother, and I'll always cherish those memories, which I could talk for ages about, of when growing up with her as my grandma. But what's most important to me right now, and has been for the last few years, is the way that I've come to know her as I become an adult. And I talk to her not just as like the little kid who runs around the house, but someone who can talk about adult subjects and academia, which she was so interested in. And I've always been an artist. I've always had this love for museums, and it was fostered so much by her, of course, especially with the museums, where I would stay every summer with her to go to the Sam Noble to do summer camps or to volunteer. And I know I've really started to understand now as an adult what it means to be Chickasaw. And she's the one that introduced me to that, even though it took me a while to really understand what it meant. And talking to her as an adult about the things that we loved, and I really started to see how much my passions reflect hers and how much we have in common, convergent, I guess, rather than, she never forced me, like in the speech, like she never told me what to like, but all the things that I liked ended up being so many things that she was passionate about too. And she was always a proud Chickasaw. She loved going to the cultural center with me. She's such a well-studied artist, an art historian. She worked at museums. She did so many things, and I love that I was able to make her so proud with my love for her heritage and the work that I've done and the things that I've been studying as I study art history and Native American rights, and I work with the Chickasaw Nation now and want to work with museums in the future. But aside even from her intelligence and her passions, I wanted to talk about her kindness. And talking to Catalina recently, who's you're going to hear next, we were talking about some things, and she put it in this way that I liked, where Grandma was really caring in this way where even if she didn't understand what it was, she didn't just dismiss it or try to blend her through. She sat and she listened, and she wanted to give her love where you told her it was needed, and she always had that support for you, and she had that love and that generosity to sit back and to listen rather than charge forward, and she's very caring in that way. And when I came out as transgender, I was really worried about how it would go, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to have the same sort of relationship with her or with being Chickasaw anymore. But ever since I came out, it's like nothing changed except in the best way, where I've been growing and turning into my true self and discovering who I am and who I am as an adult and the things that I'm passionate about. And I get to be with her and in that have this relationship with her with nothing held back anymore. And she's always used the right names, always used the right pronouns. I've never heard her slipped up once, which means a lot. And I know how much work that takes to do. And it just means a lot to me that I've been able to not just be her granddaughter, but to be her grandson. And I know that working with the nation and things that I've been studying, how much she would brag about me, and people always meet me and be like, oh, she's told me so much. And it just means a lot that I was able to make her so proud with just doing the things that I loved and being myself. Thank you.
As you guys know, I'm Catalina Flansburg, the youngest grandchild. My grandma was involved in my life on a lot of things. She encouraged me on trying things. She was there for emotional support. She kind of felt like another mother, but could never replace my actual mother, Sandra Flansburg. Throughout living with my mom, my grandparents were in my life a lot. Not because we were so close, but my mom wanted me to have a great bond with my grandparents too. Grandma was so excited and happy that she had 2 grandchildren into art. Me and my cousin Dirk, she was always take us to art museums. She loves animals, so I remember going to the zoo a lot. She would take us to the Omniplex, but now it's called the Science Museum. Both my grandparents opened my mind in science, art, music, reading, dance. Just everything to try, even if you like it or not, or if you're just a side little hobby. When my grandpa died, it was hard for a lot of us. A lot of the traditional things I did with him, Grandma just picked it up and did them for him and me. Going to the OU football games, getting a special dress for certain holidays, going to lunch together and talking about whatever you want to talk about. Going to certain restaurants nobody else liked going, but me and Grandpa love going. Grandma definitely, in her mind and face, wanted to say no, but in her heart and voice, she said, okay, we can go. Getting ice cream whenever we go, going to movies or certain concerts together. I'll miss everything about my grandparents. Let me do with them. I'll miss my grandma's presence, her voice, her laugh, her wisdom, her motivation towards me, the little talks. Her seeing my best friends since she adored all my friends and opened her door to them. Missing her hugs, living with her, going to miss everything. Going to miss her meeting my children, when that's a good time, of course, and seeing me get married. But what I love that she did see was my quinceañera, my few prom nights. Even though I didn't have a graduation, she at least was there virtually for that. She helped me a little bit during college before I decided to take a break, so at least she helped me and experienced so much, including my grandpa did the same before he passed September of 2013, almost 9 years ago. Funny thing about growing up with my grandma and my grandpa is sometimes a lot of our names were mixed up, but we knew that they loved us. Grandpa didn't do much of our mixing names compared to Grandma, but we all just started living with it. Me being called Sandra or Dirk's dead names, Sage, or Uncle Miles being named Connor or Grandpa. Connor being named Uncle Miles and Grandpa, more like Uncle Miles, but she loved us all. I know once Grandpa left, he knew he was putting everybody in still good hands with Grandma. He was always proud of us, and Grandma was proud of us too. And it's always hard to say a goodbye to a loved one, but it's never the end. She's always with us. The things we do, she is there. The love we put on certain things, she is there. Anything we do, she is there. Every thought, every time, every passion, every support, she is there. I will always and forever will love my grandparents because they not helped me, but helped my mom out too when she needed it. I wanted everybody to know thanks for coming. I know she will love to see you all here. We all appreciate you coming for her, and I could see her now having a big smile on her face, knowing she was loved and we loved her. Thank you.
Allison Lee singing Sweet Chants.
Sweet child. We have 2 more remembrances. Bob?
Good day to everyone. My name is Bob Rabatine, and Sandra Flansburg, who is Margaret's daughter, is my partner. I've only come to know Margaret deeper in the last several years, but I'm just so grateful to be here and be able to share some of these memories with you. I've got 6 little short stories to share, and then to close, I want to offer a quote from a story that touched me years ago that I wanted to share. The first story is holiday traditions. I'm grateful that I was welcomed into the Flansburg clan and attended Thanksgiving and Christmas celebrations. Traditions were very, very important to Margaret, and yet it was fun to discover that the Christmases that I attended had British traditions folded into them. It included wearing paper hats that are like crowns and singing English songs and having food as part of the evening with that were definitely British. And so I was thinking about that, but the funny thing is that including all those things was not considered a deviation of tradition by Margaret. It was simply a new tradition, and after all, she was the decider. The next little short story is Farmhouse Memories. Margaret loved going to the farmhouse in Caddo County. It was a retreat, a place to rest and be restored. She went often. Recently, Sandra and I went to check on the property and found that Margaret had kept Leonard's work clothes in a drawer near her bed. We both instantly thought that she was keeping him close, and it touched both of us deeply. The next segment is windshield time, well spent. Margaret and I spent a good deal of time together on the road. COVID shots in distant counties from Oklahoma City. That was in the early days. And doctor's visits, treatments, physical therapy. These were routine destinations, but the magic happened during the travel time. Wonderful conversations, art, music, family, loss, jobs, successes, travels, adventures. Her favorite topic was her children and grandchildren, and she just beamed as she told stories of their lives. I confess, I like the Sandra stories best. It was precious time, and I treasure it. This story I call Garden of Joy. Leonard was known for his ability to create beautiful gardens. I asked Margaret one day if she too had the gardening bug. She said that she enjoyed being in a beautiful garden, particularly if it had a comfortable chair and she had a good book. Sandra was the one in the family that carried on the tradition of gardening and has created a beautiful and tranquil setting in her backyard. Margaret loved Sunday dinner at Sandra's after church. Good food, good company, good conversation. She really loved the days when the weather allowed us to dine outside and enjoy and bask in Sandra's gardening success. The last one I call a moving adventure. Sandra scheduled a trip to take Margaret to Duncan, her hometown. We found Duncan easy enough, and then Margaret had to take over to do the navigation duties when we arrived in Duncan. Margaret easily led us to the family home, her grandparents' home, and the family section of the cemetery, and regaled us with many, many stories along this trip, all this visit. Margaret became overwhelmed with emotions as the flood of memories swept over her from this visit. She thanks Sandra over and over for the wonderful day, stating it was just what I needed. Sandra, you are a wonderful daughter. Now, the story that I wanted, or it's a little passage from a book that I read years ago that touched me. The author is William Kent Kruger. The book is Ordinary Grace. The dead are never far from us. They are in our hearts and on our minds. And in the end, all that separates us from them is a single breath, one final puff of air for you to ponder.
Thank you for letting me bring greetings from Margaret's colleagues. Margaret was my colleague at the University of Central Oklahoma. I first met her about 25 years ago and came, like all of her colleagues, to admire her greatly. While she was also a friend, I'd like to speak to who she was as an academic, because the academy, higher education, was an important aspect of her life. Margaret enjoyed teaching college students and was very good at it. She was also a calm and ethical administrator to the benefit of her colleagues. But when I saw Margaret in July with Jean, also from UCO, what Margaret picked up from beside her chair to show us was a very heavy art history volume that she had recently been asked to review. She was regretful that she did not feel up to writing a review, but she was happy to be asked, because the book related to the research she had done over the years and loved doing in Italian Renaissance art. Perhaps you know about her research, but in the event you do not, let me tell you a little bit. Margaret had an ongoing interest in the devotional images painted on reliquary arks, which commemorated the lives and housed the remains of revered monastics in small towns during the Italian medieval and Renaissance eras. The arks were a focus of spiritual energy in a community, and the images painted on them could be portraits, narrative life scenes, or symbolic emblems. They sustained local admiration for good people who were viewed as saints by their neighbors, and sometimes were indeed granted that status with time by the Vatican. These were people like Clare of Montefalco, who was born Chiara di Damiano in 1268, not far from the town of Assisi, and who at age 6 entered a very small Franciscan community. Margaret describes it as the tiny Damiano hermitage provided by her father. Or Rita of Cascia, born Margherita Lotti in the 1370s in a castle near Spoleto, who, although she too as a child wanted to become a nun, married to please her parents, had 2 children, and at 28 became a holy sister only after her husband Paolo Mancini, who turned out to be cruel and abusive, was murdered in a vendetta. Rita was at the monastery of Santa Maria Maddalena for almost 40 years. Claire and Rita both were eventually recognized as saints by the church in Rome. They were women who were healers, who had mystical visions, who took care of people, listening to them, comforting them, advising them. Claire's Arca and Rita's Cassone were painted not with narrative scenes from their lives, but with symbols or emblems related to their mystical experiences. Margaret used her study of their wooden reliquaries, along with her knowledge of Renaissance artists like Simona Martini, to help her illustrate a hypothetical reconstruction of the missing wooden arca of Agostino Novello with narrative scenes from his life. Born Matteo di Tirano about 1225, he studied law at the University of Bologna and, as an advisor to King Manfred of Naples, was wounded on the field of battle with him when the king was killed in 1266. Thereafter, Matteo hid his identity to become a simple brother in a monastic settlement outside Siena. When his identity and talents were discovered, he took the name Agostino in honor of St. Augustine and eventually became an advisor to 3 popes, was a prior of the Augustinian order, and after his death became an official patron of the city of Siena. Margaret was fascinated by the lives of St. Clare, St. Rita, and the beatified Agostino Novello, and by the artworks that extended memories of them in the communal life of their followers. She examined how their reliquary arts depicted standard subjects, these are her words, of the rejection of wealth and position, devotion to fellow monastics, acceptance of mission, and submission to higher clerical authority. But what spoke to Margaret more was how these objects commemorated miracles of devotion, healing, resuscitation, and visionary experiences sought by penitents. Her writing shows that while she studied the exercise of power that surrounded these simple artifacts, she was moved by the way in which respect grew in neighbors, for neighbors who cared for them, who inspired them, reassured them, and interceded for them. This care for others is what made Clare, Rita, and Agostino Novello exemplary people. Over the course of her life, Margaret became such an exemplary person.
The Ave Maria, thank you. The Ave Maria, or Bogorodice Dieva by Rachmaninoff. Would you please join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation? Spirit of life, source of love, today as we celebrate the life of Margaret Flansburg, let us remember and hold in love all those whose hearts are hurting today. All those who are missing Margaret today and who will continue to miss her for a very long time. We send love especially to Margaret's family, Sandra, Bob, Miles, Rebecca, Connor, Dirk, Catalina, Margaret's nieces, nephews, cousins, and full extended family who meant so much to her. May they find strength and healing in their memories and in the many gifts of character that Margaret bequeathed to them. We also hold in our hearts Margaret's closest friends, including those who couldn't be with us in person today. We remember Christiane and Robin. And we hold in tender care this congregation that has seen so much loss in recent years and months, including painful losses within the choir. There are beautiful people that will no longer sit in these pews, whose voices will no longer resound within these walls, and we are deeply saddened by that loss. When we are most despondent, though, when we feel blue and listless and alone, may we remember the emphasis that Margaret placed on people, on relationships. And may we find solace and strength in one another. May our presence to one another be a balm to our broken hearts. And now I invite you to take a moment of silence to contemplate all you have heard today, to express gratitude for the gifts you have been given, and to ponder the gifts that only you can give to others. Peace, 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 and amen. We extinguish the chalice, but not the flame of love and community, which continues to burn in our hearts. After today's service, all are invited to a time of fellowship and remembrance in Daniel Hall. To get there, just go through these double doors, go down the hallway, and Daniel Hall is the first set of doors on your right. During the postlude, I invite the congregation to remain seated while the family exits out to the courtyard to inter Margaret's ashes in our memorial garden. And now, go in peace, go in beauty, Go in appreciation, go in courage, go in curiosity, go in strength, but most of all, go in love. May it be so.